Hey everybody, and welcome to Myopia Movies. This week we are talking about trading moms. So happy Thanksgiving to all of you, and I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. And I know good can be relative. Just last weekend we were recording an episode and we were talking about how awkward this election makes, sometimes Thanksgiving. And frankly, it doesn't matter who won or lost. I think a lot of elections just make things awkward. And how lucky I was to have a family where that kind of thing doesn't come up. And so what I want to say to all of you is thank you. Thank you for listening. I'm appreciative for you. I'm thankful for our audience. But first and foremost, I want to say that I'm thankful for the people who do this with me. I know it'd be cooler if I thanked the people who listened, because the people who listened, of course, are the ones who make us matter. But I think I would still do this even if no one listened. No one. And for those of you who are abroad, and I know we have listeners in more than 40 countries, just understand that the fourth Thursday of November is Thanksgiving in America. And Thanksgiving is your classic harvest festival, where people eat too much, we watch sport on TV, and we see our family. And sometimes all of that is awkward. And sometimes all of that is wonderful. And sometimes all of that is sometimes it's just all of that. I love what I do, and I do it because I can, and I don't have to, and that's the best part of all. And so I want to thank those people who make it possible. I want to thank the people who helped me come up with this idea, who don't even do the podcast anymore, like Scott. And I want to thank my buddy Matt, who's been with me since the beginning, and Daniel from almost the beginning. I want to thank of all of the guests, like Charlie and Madison, and I want to thank the regulars, like Candace. And I want to thank the people who have now just become the cornerstones of the show, like Alex and Keiko. I want to thank Nor and Daniel for their editing, especially Nor nowadays, with Daniel having young kids at home. And I want to thank, again, once more, all of you. I couldn't do it without my friends who show up and do this as though it's Dungeons and Dragons and we have a campaign to continue. But you're the only people who let us know if it's good or not. And we love you for it. So as we end Keiko-vember and enter into a more family-friendly Disney month for December, I hope you had a Thanksgiving, if you're an American, that was tolerable. That your family wasn't too hard. And if it was awful, that you're able to drive home or fly home and listen to this and smile a little bit. And if you're abroad, I hope you enjoy the holiday season, with Advent starting next Sunday, and a Christkindlesmarkt in your hometown. Because I love this time of year, because it means I get to spend time with people I really care about, under the pretense of the holidays. Something I would want to do anyway, but I get to do with you while we're in your ears. Thanks, everyone.
Welcome to Myopia Movies. This week we return to Keiko-vember as we talk about, I believe, what may be the Disney original channel movie with the most shit-eating kids I've ever seen. We did Trading Moms. I wish I had more to say about this in the intro, but we'll get to it because it's 1994's strangest movie, I think. Directed by Tia Brelis and starring Sissy Spacek and a Chlumsky. And that's kind of it. I mean, Maureen Stapleton's in it briefly as a crazy old lady, which is great. So Keiko, this is your choice.
Yeah.
I'm not calling you out.
I'm sorry.
I picked some real stinkers. But now this is the second time we've talked about it, and I feel sad. So what do you got for us? Why'd you pick this? Why did it come to mind, etc.?
I don't know. This was one that I sort of vaguely remembered, like a fever dream from my childhood. And I mean, I remembered liking it. I remembered it it being like a kind of sweet, fun, silly story. Um, but that's pretty much it. I just had, fond memories of the movie. And what's really weird, like as we explored this movie um before, like the first time, and I'm going to reference that, so I'm just going to get that out of the way, that we
That's fine.
recorded this, we lost it, so I'm going to struggle with that. If I'm weird, that's why, and it's not because I'm just actually weird. But we were kind of discussing, like, I don't really know how I saw this movie, where this movie was shown or playing. Like, it's not super popular. Um, I guess it was just on TV would be my guess, but I don't know. But there you go. So now I made all you guys watch it too.
It's totally fine. It made $300,000 in its box office, which is a lot. Uh-huh. And
Did they
yeah,
release
no,
it on the box office just so you have it in the theaters for an award? Because it doesn't sound like it's in theaters long.
that's right. I mean,
Sounds like a TV movie.
but they released this in theaters. And by the by, for those of you who are movie fans, like the workings of Hollywood kind of fans, like I am, um, this is the daughter of De Laurentiis, Dino De Laurentiis, the guy who made The Godfather and manages to lose money on everything. This is a Raffaella De Laurentiis movie. The niece or the aunt of Giada De Laurentiis from the Food Network. If in case you wonder how a movie with this many stars can lose this much money, De Laurentiis is all over it, so it kind of tells you the story. Now, again, Keiko, don't feel bad. This is why we ask you to do these kinds of things, because we've definitely done Matt's version of this and my version of this and Daniel's version of this. The movie that one of us saw barely remembered like a fever dream. And I'm like, you know what we need to do? Watch this with other people. And that's kind of what this is. Because on paper, reading a little bit about this, it's called The Mummy Market, and it's a kid's book. And it makes perfect sense for something that would be, a 32-page, full-color illustration story that has maybe a total of 500 words, right? And
Yeah.
at the end, they learn the lesson that their mummy is the best mummy at the mummy market. But instead, we have the worst French stereotype woman we've seen, followed by another French stereotype woman, because the circus woman also kind of has a fake French accent. And I guess
And don't forget Andre the Giant.
I was going to say, maybe they had on.
But we weren't going to forget him.
Maybe they had her do a French accent because Andre the Giant was there, and I'm like, this is the only way it's going to make sense if he's also kind of there and doing a French accent, because he cannot do an English accent, that's for sure.
Well, so that on that note, I was reading about the movie, and Nick, you already mentioned the director, and the first time we talked about it, we talked about it's a book. It's the director's mother's book. So this was just like a passion project of somebody just wanting to make their mom's book into a movie. It was probably a Christmas present to her mom. But I also noticed that a lot of the cast is real family. Like there's actors and they're real brothers. Sissy's real life daughter plays Susie.
Right.
What's her name? Anna Chlumsky's mother is in the movie. Another character's like real life sister, real life nephew. Like this was just like a weird mix of a little personal passion project and then somebody that just happened to know Sissy Spacek, I guess.
And they had no
I don't
casting
know.
budget whatsoever, I suppose.
No. I mean, and what's funny is, how do I even put this? It would be one thing if it was the other way around. Like if it was Stephen King's like daughter. And so Stephen King's like, I know this is going to be made into a movie because I'm Stephen King. So why don't you direct it? And this is your first way to dip your toe in. But apparently, unless I'm looking in the exact wrong place, Nancy Brelis, the mom, this is also her only book. So it's not like, it's not like she's, Anne Pratchett or something, and there's hundreds of books, and they're like, you can direct this one.
That's what this is then. This was Tia wanted to give her mom the ultimate Christmas present and have her book made into a movie. That's the only possible explanation for this.
And you know what I bet you it was too? I like honestly. So the story of South Park is there are these kids who are, I think it was University of Colorado, who made a short, an animated short called The Spirit of Christmas for I think like someone at Fox who just thought it would be really funny. And then they just passed it around and it became South Park thanks to Comedy Central picking it up. So I wonder if this wasn't like a student film and it fell into someone's lap and they're like, well, this is adorable. I bet you we can make this into a full-length movie. And this is what we got. And this person should never have directed a movie because this scene, I've seen better directed episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like this, like, especially when we get to the mommy market and it's just like
Yeah.
a discovery zone. I don't know how to explain. We'll get there, but it's very strange.
Yeah, and I do have to say it's interesting because I'm not like a movie person, and so I don't know that I could really like say, oh, that's a poorly produced film. But I can say that about this one. And you know what it reminds me of?
What's
It
that?
reminds me of The Room with the weird, like weird transitions, like
Mhm.
real locations, like oddly, like real locations, but very staged interactions. Like you can almost see what's it called in like in plays where you know exactly where you're gonna put
Like
down an object or you're gonna, is that blocking?
blocking?
Yes, that's your
Oh,
blocking.
okay.
It's like that. It's like you can feel that. Whereas normally you're not really supposed to be, aware of those things in a movie or like a transition from one scene to another, or I don't know, a 10-minute scene of a little boy in a waterfall. You just don't want to think about these things.
A boy
Yeah.
who doesn't have a shirt on for a good chunk of this movie. Um,
Yeah.
I will also just say, directors at home, if you're making a kids movie and there's going to be kids throughout it, usually the adult plays the straight man, right? Think of some good ones. Mighty Ducks movies, for example. Emilio Estevez isn't cutting it up. He's the one who's like, what am I going to do with all these ducks, right? Hook, same idea. Robin Williams is having to learn how to be fun. And then when he learns how to have fun, we have Captain Hook show up, and he's the straight man now, right? The problem is the kids have to be the straight men against ridiculous characters, French stereotypes, a woman who is right. I mean, she's out of bushwhack. The character's right out of bushwhack, but she's this nutty, like camping enthusiast, followed by a bunch of clowns, literally clowns. And then the kids have to be like, now, mom, that's ridiculous. And this isn't Home Improvement. It doesn't work. It's so strange because
And then
none
it
of these
takes a
kids can act.
turn for the absolutely horrifically depressing.
We'll get there.
Yes.
We'll get to the end of this when the rules that we've established this entire time don't matter, which is a lot.
Yeah,
Hey, man,
I can
if you
relate
was-
to what Keiko was saying. You don't need to be an expert filmmaker. You don't need to know the terminology. You don't need to have hours and hours of experience. But if it leaves you shaking your head and feeling strange, then you know something's weird with the filmmaking. That's my rule.
So
If it leaves you
movie-
feeling strange.
Yeah, if it's like that was weird.
no, it's exactly what you're saying it right. Because like there are movies that are supposed to unsettle you, right? I mean, we're recording this in October. A good horror movie does that, right? Like Halloween, you're in a normal suburb, but something's a little off, and that builds the entire time. This felt like I was the one adult at a play center. Like you were at a trampoline park and things are happening and it's out of my control and there's nothing I can do. It's like having a panic attack while you're trying to smile the whole time. It was
It's
so
more
much-
like it's more like, which I actually haven't seen Hereditary, but I get the impression that the vibe of the movie is a more like subversive, unsettling nature, where you don't really know that you're creeped out until it's too late, and then you're just too far gone. This movie has that, but it's not supposed to.
Trading Mom, yeah, it's like it's in the uncanny valley of what
Yeah.
like a movie should be,
Yeah.
of what like a movie is. It's not quite a film. And you look at it and it's it doesn't seem quite right.
No, and actually, that's a really good way to put it, both of you, because I've been talking to Matt a lot about when we see CGI, and I can tell when it's CGI, and he's, is it the uncanny valley thing? I'm like, no, it doesn't freak me out. I just can tell that it's bad. This is the problem. Like, at points, this almost feels like it was designed to be like a kid's play, and then they're like, but what if we gave it $50 extra and you put it to celluloid? Like, case in point, other than the most bone-chilling introduction to a movie I've ever seen, we cut to a black screen, and the chyron at the beginning says, dedicated to our mothers. And I was just saying, you're right, Keiko, this is probably a birthday, Christmas, some kind of gift. I don't know what I would say to my child.
Thanks.
Yeah, no. So we wake up, and like every shitty movie there's ever been, we're waking up with the family because that's how we're introduced. And these shitty kids are destroying the house because it's morning and they don't want to get up, which again, I remember being a teenager. I remember being 39 this morning and not wanting to wake up. But like, mom is dressed and already halfway out the door and she's running late. This is the third time she's woken them. And they're just awful. These kids are awful. These are the worst kids on film. Like,
yeah, the daughter wants to go to the mall. The son is just too cool for school, scoffing at everything, whatever. I don't remember what the little one was.
One of them wants
about.
pancakes or waffles or something.
The little one wants pancakes.
Yeah. Pancakes.
And again, it's best we know, it's a school day because we eventually, after the scene goes on for 17 and a half minutes, we cut to the last day of school for the year. So mom is late. She's trying to get the kids to work. She's a single mom, okay, which was very fashionable in the 90s, of course. And and then
the kid, that's when the kid says, that's why dad left mom.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is that sick burn? Is this the scene where the sick burn closes it out?
It is ooh doggy. That, I mean, I'm going to talk about burning everything down. Jesus Christ. And then we're introduced to like your stereotypical 90s bully, fat kid who's shoving around the little kid. The brother stands up for him. They both get in trouble. There's cigarettes on the playground.
And it's funny because in these scenarios, all of the kids are not responsible for the trouble that they're in. Like,
yeah,
they didn't really start it because even the daughter, another girl is like, I brought these cigarettes from home, and she's like being pressured to try the cigarettes, which, side note, good on them for having an anti-cigarette message in this movie, because like for 1994, I feel like that was a little bit early for that.
It's right on the bubble.
I feel like you had
okay.
a lot of those after school specials and very special episodes, and maybe that started in like around maybe 1990 or early 90. Special Saved by the Bell. Zach smokes 1.5 cigarettes. Oh no.
Well, and
the caffeine pills. We can't forget the caffeine pills.
Of course.
That's what exactly I was thinking of. And she's just singing, I'm so excited, until she collapses on the ground, if I recall correctly. I guess the star here would be the older sister, Anna Chlumsky, who's in My Girl. And then I guess as adult, she's in Veep, which is really good at.
Yeah. Funny.
And I guess this movie falls in between My Girl 1 and 2?
Something like that, yeah. Because and I think it comes out the same year as My Girl 2, but I think My Girl 2 comes out after this. Which, in fact, in my head, perhaps, this was filmed earlier because she looks much older in My Girl 2. So I wonder if they didn't film this and just sit on it until My Girl 2 came out, so they would come out the same summer.
Oh, they could have done that. I remember it was about 18 months or something, or almost 2 years that it was sort of in the can sitting there, I believe.
Yeah, I wonder, but in this movie, it almost seems like they're trying to make her seem very childlike. So they could have just done that, made her, because my girl too is like coming of age sort of. So maybe they just did her up for that movie and down for this one.
It's possible. I believe it. But regardless, we have to introduce ourselves to the villain, who's the principal. And God help me, they do a really how do I even put this? He's doing a really good job as a person, which makes him the villain. What essentially
Job that social workers do home visits, not principals. Is he just bored?
Well, maybe you just don't care enough, man. No, I mean, what he's doing is not awful. I mean, in fact, at the end, he brings the social worker with them. The idea is that he wants to have a parent-teacher conference because turns out that in one day, if you have two kids fighting and one kid's bringing cigarettes to campus, you're supposed to intervene. But since it's the last day of school and school's over, he goes, look, I'll just come to your house so you don't have to come to school. That's the way it's portrayed. And so instead, they spend the entire movie harassing this poor man for doing his job. And in the end, they find foster homes for him because they're shitty kids. Which, by the way, you would do,
He's after the mom.
right? I mean, like, God help me. The whole
He's
time,
single.
huh?
I said, someone write a fanfic. The principal just wants to meet the mom.
That's
Because she's
actually what I was
single.
thinking. That should be the sequel. The sequel is they get together and they have a baby, and
Oh, this is
I don't
some
know.
advanced fanfic you got into here.
Hang on. Let me ask ChatGPT to come up with the sequel.
Well, I mean, effectively, you're coming up with the show Boss Baby. And then the baby's the one who's in charge. By the by, this guy, the guy who directed this, is not a director. He's a cinematographer for things. And he's a cinematographer for things you may have seen, including, and I'm just looking around here, Young Sheldon, which is awful. I don't know. We should try to get into this movie a little bit. But effectively, there's a crazy old lady who lives out in the woods, played by, it's Maureen Stapleton, right? That's her.
I idolize her. I want to be a sweet old garden witch. That's just all I want to be. That's what I want out of life. I want to be a sweet old garden witch.
One day. Here's hoping. I want that for you too.
Right now, I'm still too mean. I just need to get a little sweeter, and I'll have met my goal.
I will say I wish she played it 20% more aloof because she's just like, oh, you want to get rid of your mom? Here's a spell that'll do that. Just don't do it. And you're like, no, no, no. You should pretend like you gave it out by accident, or that you didn't quite understand, or that you forgot stuff. I'm thinking, I guess I'm just thinking about Hook, but that guy who loses his marbles,
Yeah.
just kind of like sweet and aloof and out of it. But we always see her wearing a giant gardening hat out in her garden, and there's some like incantation you do that's vaguely Latin that will drive your mom away. When they get home, after that, this is when the mom is like, ooh, you're all grounded because of, the fact that I got called from the principal by all three of you, and I was at work, and this sucks. And so you're all grounded. You can't go to the mall. You can't, I don't know, eat pancakes. You can't do whatever the older kid wants to do, which is apparently just sleep shirtless.
Just be cool.
Yeah, you can't be cool kid with your penis haircut. You're that horrible '90s parted in the middle bull haircut that I'm sure I had, and I'm sure the other two of you had at one point too. And so they sit around and they do the incantation, and then some magic CGI purple clouds show up, and isn't that always the way it happens?
Yeah.
Now, let's just be clear here. What the spell does is it doesn't just make the mom go away. It also makes them forget her. So they fall asleep even though the apocalypse is rolling out. These blue, purpley clouds kind of CGI in, and they fall asleep, and then they wake up and they're like, huh. And they walk around the house and they go to their parents' room, their mother's room, the master, and there's just nothing in there. There's no sheets on the bed. There's no pictures on the wall. The furniture's empty. And they can't remember their mother, which, here's the problem. In a 32 kids page book, or page kids book, that's an okay idea. When you have to spend 6.5 minutes and think about it, because now you're thinking about it, that's really scary. They don't freak out nearly enough. Instead, again, we have a scene out of like, I don't know, Mighty Ducks or something. They're like, let's just
A
have
commercial.
yeah. Let's have crazy breakfast cereal. Let's jump off the table. Let's make huge pancakes. Let's not get dressed. And then the principal shows up at their
So they
house.
can't remember.
It's like Home Alone when he like, I made my family disappear.
Yep, exactly. So they can't remember anything about their mom, but I guess they have the vague memory that she oppressed them terribly and didn't let them do anything fun. Is that kind of it? This has some issues logistically, I believe.
I actually don't remember if they talk about what she did or if they only remember that they traded her.
They don't
Like-
remember much. I mean, like, and that's kind of the problem because, like, early on, I know I'm old. That's the problem. I'm old. But, like, the thing is, she's not a bad mom. She's, like, I'm sure the plot description calls her, like, a workaholic. But she's also a single mom dealing with 3 kids, 2 of which are in high school. And, like, she has to work. This isn't now virtual, like, where she can be home all the time. She has to go to the, quote, office in her suit. And we don't really know what any of that means, but it doesn't matter. I guess as a kid, your parents just leave and work during the day and come back. And so the fact is, like, when the principal shows up and their house is a mess, yeah, he gets concerned. Perhaps the babysitter's dead. We shouldn't tell mom. But yeah.
Yeah, so what you're saying, I think it's explicit that, the little boy is like, pancakes, so-and-so's mommy makes him pancakes. And she's like, yeah, so-and-so's mommy doesn't have to work. So it sounds like maybe she's had to go back to work after her husband ditches them, and now there's no time for housewife things.
Yeah, it did make me think too. I imagined then almost all of the kids at the mommy market, which is where we're heading next. Once mom disappears, we go to the mommy market, which, I mean, really could be your entire thesis. We're 20 minutes in and this movie goes insane. But like, all of these are probably single kids because otherwise the assumption is that like the dad comes home from work and there's just a different woman in the house and he's just, all right, he rolls with it. I guess he forgets, or maybe there's a dad sitting around the circle too, also wishing that mommy disappears so he can get into mommy. Like it's, but
Any of y'all remember the Man Show? Mommy went back to Poland.
I remember the show. I don't remember that.
I was gonna say I remember the show. I don't remember that bit. No.
Isn't that the one where they're like, he's the man?
Yes.
Oh wait, no, that's the man song.
You are thinking of the
Man
song.
Show, Jimmy Kimmel,
and then it became
other people.
Doug Stanhope, and yeah, because Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel left to have real jobs, and then it became Doug Stanhope and someone else, and they immediately canceled it. You did end up chugging at the end of the show. They chugged a beer and cut to women on trampolines.
Yes.
In slow motion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
of course. Yeah.
Like we were watching the introduction to all that or something. Like it was a very strange show. And I believe there was a guy who played a pipe organ or who died, and they all wore black for the fat guy who played the pipe organ. Ask your parents about the Man Show. Yeah, no.
Or your grandparents.
Ask your grandparents about the Man Show.
Prospective audience Zoomers or something have to ask their parents about the Man Show.
Our audience is on average about a decade younger than us. Yeah.
So weird.
I don't know why anyone listens to this crap. But anyway.
So
please, Keiko, go ahead.
they go to the mommy market and they learn that there's a system and you get like 3 coins and there's like rules, dude. And the teenage employee of the mommy market who is like, he's literally like the guy that like works at the arcade, explains to them that there's quite a few rules actually. So they get 3 coins. They get to keep the mommy for a week, and then they have to come back on Sunday at 3 and like either turn their coin, to try another mommy, or they have to keep that mommy forever. Or I guess they could also not have a mommy if they don't like the one they get.
They could drive her away. They could banish. They could banish the weird mommy.
Yeah, so that's actually what they end up kind of doing. So they get to choose a mommy, and they go around the mommy store and they're talking to all of them, and they're just doing all kinds of crazy stuff. The little baby wants one who is a baking mommy who just bakes all day. And they're debating about which one to do, and then the daughter sees this very glamorous, elegant mommy. I think she's smoking a cigarette on a stick or something.
Yep.
And she's just so fancy, and the daughter really likes that. So she chooses her, and she's going to go home with them. And so then when they get her home, she unpacks all of her stuff, and I guess they have to eat octopus, which is her favorite food, which is strange because she's French, and I don't know that they really like octopus.
Snails.
Snails are
Yeah,
delicious.
they could have. That would have been a very easy, obvious choice, but I guess they just
Frog
happened to have
legs,
octopus
snails.
on set.
Come on.
Like lots of garlic.
Are you
I don't know.
Yeah.
Wait, have you guys eaten snails?
Yeah.
I've had it, like, I think even just maybe in a sushi setting, because they have like escargot like sushi. I mean, I think it's like, fully cooked or whatever, but
Yeah.
Do you love them?
so not really. I haven't really had snails as I mean, I thought it was fine. Yeah, it's good.
Do you love them? I like that. That was so accusatory. That was great. Do you love them?
No, the reason I ask is because before talking to you guys about it, I've only known a couple of other people who have eaten snails, and both of them loved them to like a weird degree.
Yeah, no, they're
And I
really
guess
good.
it's the French, it's like with lots of garlic or whatever, like garlic and butter. But I was just curious if you guys also loved them, if that was the thing, like you just love them, or you've never tried them.
Oh no, just you said a lot of butter and garlic. You described a lot of French food just then. Actually, you know what's funny? I was trying to look up the book here because I wonder if in the book, like how old the book is. Maybe the book is very old, actually. Like maybe it's from the 60s or 70s. Because like
Yeah.
part of the joke to me felt, since it was a movie made in the mid 90s, like it was supposed to be a Japanese woman. Like the fear of sushi, like the weird raw fish thing, instead
Yeah.
of, being made out of, instead of being octopus, because again, like octopus is fine, octopus would be weird. Yeah, 1966. So then weird French makes perfect sense, right? And it's supposed to be fancy food, but we also don't really see the kids eat other than Captain Crunch and pancakes. There should have been a scene where there was just piles of ketchup or something that the woman was disgusted by, or peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, right? Because if she's very, very la-di-da French, which again, this is the worst fake accent until we get to the next 2 fake accents, which are all terrible. This is really bad.
No, but we haven't talked about the fact that, by the way, all of the other mommies in the movie are also Sissy Spacek.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, this is Mama Spacek.
Yeah.
Dressed like she's in My Fair Lady with the cigarette holder, like you said. And again, part of this is that the kids are supposed to learn a lesson about being jackasses. And so she's smoking all the time, and the daughter's supposed to learn how disgusting smoking is, even though, as Keiko pointed out at the beginning, she isn't actually ever smoking. She's holding a cigarette when she's caught, which, guys, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening and you're doing something you're not supposed to, don't do it in the middle of the quad in front of the teachers. Like, it's the stupidest thing. Like, it would have been, if you're making a movie, making a movie, you should have done it behind the building, and the teacher just happened to come out at the wrong moment. But they're just doing it in the middle of the playground. These
Are
kids
they
are
vaping?
nowadays they
This is
would
the
be.
1994. They're not vaping.
No, in like, oh, I thought Nick, I thought you were talking about now.
Oh, now if you're trying to do that, yeah, do it out. You can go vape out in the parking lot. And by the way, I
There's no
don't.
song coming on. Vaping in the boys' room. You can't possibly not get it.
I don't know the.
I know it.
Smoking in the girls' room?
There's a song from the 80s
Well, it
where
was
the
boys,
chorus
but
is smoking in the boys' room. I'm going to shoot myself.
no, you don't know it.
I don't know that song. No,
It was an original. It was old. It was like from the '60s or something, and then one of the metal bands, like '80s metal bands, covered it. I can't remember.
Motley Crue.
Motley Crue. There you go. It's good stuff.
That's funny.
Wikipedia page for it.
Okay. We should mention here that the little kid has an iguana and the girl has fish. The mama flushes the fish down the toilet. And the iguana, which she's, I guess, scared of, they put in her bed. Yeah, a monster. Yeah. And she's like wearing, it's not like a slip or a nightie, like it has cuffs and like ruffles on it, right? Like it's a very strange outfit she's wearing. And again, she has a face mask on. She looks like it's the scene from like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf or something. And like she has her hair done up and the makeup's out of control and she's losing her mind because there was a monster in the bed.
Oh, well, and also she makes the kids get makeovers or whatever,
Mhm.
and they're all little frilly people. And so the kids decide they want to drive her away.
Right.
So that's when they start harassing her, and they harass her with Michael the iguana. And lots of stuff.
Our magical garden witch lady, Mrs. Cavor, tells her that, like, look, she's there for the week unless she chooses to leave. So
Yeah.
you have to harass her to the point where she leaves, and that's what they come up with. Around this time, also, once again, the principal gets showed up to get douched with mud in the face as the mother is driving away. At which point, I think you just call the cops. Then we go back to the mommy market for round 2. Yeah. Of these people, we have artistic mommy, and then my favorite, which is OCD mommy. It's just a woman wearing all white on the floor of a bathroom, scrubbing with a toothbrush.
And when they say something to her, she says like, "Cleanliness is next to godliness."
The woman is losing her goddamn mind. She's been huffing ammonia for the last 26 straight hours. And she's coming down from one hell of a speed bend. And she is just trying to clean the goddamn bathrooms. By the way, with someone with kids with home, I understand the work ethic. That this bathroom will never be fucking clean again and you've got to scrub, but this is a lot.
Yeah.
And they opt not to deal with this woman. And instead, we go to this insane camping woman, which again is an accent that might be a little bit out of Sissy Spacek's handling. I also want to point out just for a second, this is where the older brother is wearing this dipshit leather jacket. And he looks like a mixture of the Fonz and a leather daddy because the lapels are out past his shoulders and he's too small for the damn thing. And it's a lot. Yeah. All right, Keiko, I'm sure if you remembered any of these women, you remembered Camping Mommy from before you watched this.
Yeah, no, she gives them s'mores to begin with, and that's how she wins them over. And there are actually a lot of kids fighting over her, and I think she does like eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and picks, these kids. So she goes home with them, and I think immediately upon getting to the house, she sees a raccoon and decides to chase it to skin it. And I think she also wants to skin Michael, the iguana. And then she takes the kids camping, and it's pretty miserable. And they have to poop in the woods, I think, and wipe with leaves.
That's one
That
thing.
happens. And what else happens with this mom?
She presides over a dodgeball game that
That's
everyone
where
starts
shit
to
gets
hate.
nuts.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
also
so that's what
wrestles the
really
principal.
sets. Yeah. So she becomes
I mean, not dodgeball. What did I say? Kickball?
Kickball.
Not dodgeball.
yeah. So
She's
she
a muscle
makes
mommy.
a 5-year-old cry because the kid can't play by the real rules of the game. Like the kid obviously just wants to participate in this game, and she is giving them a hard time and being mean. And so that's when the kids decide that they want to also drive her away.
So
I don't remember what they did to her.
well, okay, so for her, it's okay. We got to talk about the camping trip just for a minute because the camping trip is stupid. All of this is stupid. It's on top of stupid. But the whole point is that she's supposed to be charming them. I would love it. This movie doesn't think about this because I guess the book didn't think about it. But what would be great is if the mother played the game for a few days, they decided to keep her, and then she turned out to be a pain in the ass. But this woman wakes them up at dawn and says, "We're going camping." They've never camped before because apparently their mom hates them. Like, it's very strange. Are we? Well, no, but like, I'm being facetious, but like, are we supposed to feel like their mom never does anything with them, or that this is just something that their mom hasn't done before? We're not really made clear because the second they get out of the woods, they're terrible at everything. The little kid falls over constantly and then gets left behind, right? They complain about bugs all the time. And then you're right, like they have the scene where like he goes, "I need to go. Go where? Go to the bathroom. But I got to go number 2. Just go over there and here's some leaves." And there's a slug, and then he screams, and then we cut to black like it's a commercial.
Yeah.
Fine. But then it starts to rain, so they march home so that they can go the next day. Which begs the question, are they just like over there? Like, is this their camping in the backyard? None of it makes sense.
Well, we even see later, regular
Oh.
mommy takes some fishing and stuff like that, as we see in no spoilers, a little montage later on. Very poignant.
Very
Oh,
funny.
yeah.
Actually, I didn't really. It didn't bring me along on that, but anyway.
No, it does. The end of this plays like a fever dream. We'll get there. But, at the end of the day with all of this, the weather's awful, it rains, so they go home. Fine. We wake up the next morning because she brings her bugle everywhere. We haven't touched on this, but she plays taps at night. She plays reveille in the morning. And then she beats the shit out of these kids playing kickball. Which is particularly nonsense because she wants them to be independent. So then she has to play with them like this. Doesn't make sense. She makes a child cry. She tackles and beats the hell out of the principal, which is excellent. But she threatens to kill and eat all the animals they find too, which is where we need to be. I don't know. This is the most absurd the movie gets, and it does last, I think, the longest of the 3 extra mommies we get.
I'm gonna say you were wrong about that. I think
really?
that there is something more absurd that happens a little later.
Well, the circus. I mean, I guess we'll get
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
circus. But as an aside, the way they get rid of her is they ask her to leave, and she doesn't want to leave, but they remind her that those are the rules. And so again, it's like the way that Captain Kirk would defeat a sentient computer by doing a mind trick on it, and it kills itself. But I
Yeah.
do want to. Sorry, go ahead. This is breaking my brain.
I was just going to say, like, the author, the original author, the producer's mom, really, really wants to drive the point home that you should just be happy with your regular mommy, because any other mommy that could potentially come into your life, high likelihood they're going to be a psychopath in one way or another. I mean, it's just like, just be complacent, just be content with your regular mommy.
Yeah. Again, though, like if you're the daughter and you're reading this, like, does she really think I hate her?
Yeah, like what's the dynamic there? why was her mother compelled to write this thing?
Listen here, I mean, appreciate your mom because she's probably going through a bunch of crap you don't understand.
Well, that's true.
I mean,
like
I
the
guess
obvious divorce stuff.
Yeah.
I will say though, I almost wish they mentioned that more. It would make more sense that we have this one off line that dad is gone. And frankly, Matt, you're right. But since they don't mention it, I just assumed that they wanted to explain why the dad wasn't there. It wasn't part of the story, actually. I believe you that just like where the wild things are, there's a lot more darkness there that they're explaining away with fantasy. Not in this movie, though. This movie is like glosses right over this. And we haven't even gotten to the heist yet, which is a very strange part of this. So we once again return to the mommy market here. And the little kid rightly says, hey, y'all have ignored me this entire time. I get to pick someone. And so he picks a clown. And this lady is, you know, the ringmaster of this little circus. They try to talk the kid out of it. He doesn't listen. And so he selects Circus Mommy along with this whole van of circus performer types, including André the Giant. Yeah, which is a lot.
And they didn't know that she came with an entire troupe.
Yeah, it's a throuple. But yeah, I mean, there's just nonsense happening. Okay. I don't even know what to go with this because it is very strange to look at and talk about. But like André the Giant throws knives at the kid, right? He
really for real.
For real, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. He was in a state where he could have done that if you watch him move and talk in this movie.
We do see him stumbling with a cane later on, trying to chase the kids down. The poor man.
Right.
Yeah, no, he was not long for this world.
No, he died. In fact, remember we talked about him. He died, I think, over a year before this movie was actually thought to be released. So it was.
Yeah, it's rough. And like at the house, right? They take over. André pulls the little kid's bike in half. There are jugglers in every room. The kids can't sleep because apparently circus people never sleep. And it's just utter chaos. Like like we walk into a Fellini movie. There's like little people dancing and jugglers and like people with fire. The woman is dressed up like Pagliacci clown, and André the Giant is just smashing stuff for no reason. And scene. So their plan to get rid of the circus performers is to steal the van.
Well, because they say something like they don't want to leave their house or something, and so they decide to take the van far away so they will, I guess, go look for it and they can lock them out. I think that's the plan.
Right. And by the way, the circus performers are sleeping it off in the morning. Like it's the middle of the day. The kids are awake and dressed, and everyone is passed out in the den, which is great. Meanwhile, the van of the people. If you told me it was like Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem's van, that's kind of what it looks like. It's just this old tie-dyed school bus that they're driving around. The kids immediately drive it into like a guardrail.
Yeah.
And they catch the kids.
Like, and don't they also hit like a fire hydrant or something?
They do. The little kid kicks André the Giant in the nuts, which is, you know, your free punchline of the scene.
Yeah, I just kind of felt sorry for the circus people because they seem legitimately heartbroken. The kids don't want them.
Yeah.
They go up crying and stuff.
it's not because it's not that the kids don't want them, it's just that they like messed up their van. That's
Right.
all they were sad about.
Yeah, why'd you break the van?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't care about the kids. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing about all three of them, right? The first mom didn't want didn't like who they were and wanted to change them. The second mom just wanted them to be like her. And we get the scene where like she's like, yeah, she only picked us because she did eeny, meeny, miny, mo. She didn't actually like us. And this third one, they don't care about them at all. They just care about the circus performers in the van, right? Um, at which point we see them leaving again, and we see the principal, this time with a social worker, who's trying to catch those kids because now they're clearly in trouble, and they need foster care. Their house has been wrecked by circus performers. They had a wicked case of carnies. Yeah.
There's knives in the wall.
There's footprints in the peanut butter. Like it's really bad scene. But now they're out of tokens, so they can't have another mom. And so what they decide to do is go back to the witch and ask him what to do. And she's like, I don't know, we should go to the next chapter of this movie. And so if this was a DVD movie, the next scene would be, the chapter title would be called The Heist, I would guess.
Yeah. Oh, well, but we can't forget. Oh, wait, I guess, is this the heist? Are you referring to where they steal a coin? Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure we didn't skip that because this was one of my kids' favorite scenes in the whole movie.
Yeah, you watched this with your kids. You got to tell us what they thought of it when we get to that point. But
yeah.
So they go back to the mommy market, and their plan is like to essentially cause chaos. They release animals to like essentially cause everything to get disrupted, so that the oldest brother can go into like the little wooden box, the piggy bank, smash it open, get a bunch more coins so they can pick other mommies. I really feel uncomfortable saying mommy this many times, but there you go. Meanwhile, the previous like three mommies actively try to stop these kids, as you would, including French mommy or mama, who captures them. We have Muscle Mom, who rides a skateboard, which I think try to kill her because they Kevin McAllister throw marbles at her while she's on a skateboard, and she goes flying through a wall. So that woman's dead. And then I don't think we see Circus Mommy again. She's probably kicking off somewhere, but it's a lot. We should also mention that French Mommy gets pooped on by a horse at this point as well.
Yeah, and it's a really long scene.
They really have to establish what's going on and what's
like it's like shots between it's like shots between the French and saying this, Nick is watching it right now as we speak, and he rewatched it for this. I haven't watched it since when we watched it for the first recording. So as I recall, there's a lot of like eye contact between the French mommy and the horse, and it just goes back and forth a few times, and then the horse just slowly starts to poop, the poop just falls in slow motion on her face.
Just really.
And we see the tail raise.
Before the horse just kind of looks back, it's like, yep, I did that.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a long, loving scene. I will also say, I don't think it could be briefer because this movie is barely film length. We're like, I don't know, by the time the horse is taking a shit on the French woman, we're at 7 minutes. Like, there's nowhere where you can cut and still release this in theaters. Meanwhile, at this point, the adults or the teens that are in charge say, hey, bro, you can't do this. Like, you broke
There's rules.
Broke the rules. You're a loser. Meanwhile, the principal has called the cops, and the because they're trying to get these kids in foster care. Because best we know, since they can only go once a week, right? It's now been nearly a month and
Yeah.
no parents. Again, it's don't tell mom the babysitter's dead or something. So they rush back to the mommy market and there's just nothing there. It's gone. You can't ever come back. You can't ever come back. You can't ever come back. Like it's
Yeah, and the guy, isn't that guy who's like leaning on him like that? You can't ever. Isn't this? Did this remind you of Rufio from Hook?
a lot. Totally. Or the kids who chant Rufio's name. But yeah, like this is you're right, man. That's exactly what this is.
And this, when the movie starts getting really sad.
That's right.
Yeah. I feel the same way as you, Matt. I don't think it hit these other heartless guys like it hit you and also me. I mean, mostly because I was watching it with my kids.
And they were trying to wish you away.
Yeah, actually, very early in the movie, I got wished away, so that was great.
You were riding your skateboard around and they threw marbles in front of you.
That's right.
The horse crapped
The horse,
right
of
on
course.
my face.
Nick, I love how you timestamp the movie just with the phrase, by the time the horse took a shit on the French lady. There's a point in this, there's sort of a before and after in this movie in which a horse takes a shit on a French lady.
Instead of BC and AD, is it BS and AS?
That's definitely BS.
Well, you know what they say, it ain't over until the horse craps on the French lady.
And horse takes a shit on a French woman sounds very specific internet search history.
Right.
Yeah, nobody Googled that.
No. So let's talk about what makes this scene so sad to some of us. The rules go completely out the window. They've given up their mother. They can't remember her. And so they can't get their own mother back. They were thinking, well, if this rules make sense, that she should be at the mommy market. So why don't we go back to the mommy market and we'll find her? But the mommy market is no longer there. So now they're trying to imagine their perfect day together. They're trying to create a memory since they have no memories of this woman. And so they then kind of, sort of imagine this perfect day, which has little bits of all of them in it, right? They go camping. Well, so they go first to the beach, and then they go out into the woods, and they splash around in a creek, and then they have a picnic somewhere, and then they go swimming out into a waterfall, and then there's a loving long shot of this teenage boy in the waterfall, swimming with his mom.
Yeah, that's very, very strange.
And there's
like
not
this
a lot of...
scene.
Go ahead.
Two people swimming slowly out to a far off. It's just weird. What movie it feels like it was like out of a playbook of kinds of movie scenes that look cool, and they just didn't think about the fact that it's a mom and a young boy.
Nailed it. This is definitely just a scene that person had done before, a director shot who had done before, that they knew they could block, and they didn't think about the context. Because again, then we just cut to the boy standing under the waterfall again. It's just, I don't know. They then go fishing, which, fine, great. They're standing way too close together. But then they go to sleep and wake up and mommy's back. That's kind of what it is, They wish upon a star. I don't know. Disney doesn't sue. And it turns out that it's all been a dream. And yeah. Any questions? I don't know. Thoughts, comments, concerns?
Any questions? Yeah. So this is where this made Matt cry, because the kids are all so sad and they can't remember their mommy, and they go to sleep and they wake back up and they have their mommy again. And supposedly it was all a dream, but we did see the knife still in the wall by the fireplace.
Right, and the house is still a wreck. But it was kind of a mess before, so I'm not sure if we're supposed to believe that it was a new wreck or the old wreck or what, but it's kind of like it was a dream, but was it? Is what we're supposed to do.
And at the end, you see the principal go, he's hanging upside down from a trap that Safari Mommy.
Yeah, raccoon trap.
So that's real too. They left some real stuff there.
Yeah, that's that. And so, again, it's magical realism. We're not sure what's real and what's not. But yeah, that's it. Are there any final thoughts? Matt, you want to take us home?
Not really. It was better than I expected it to be, but it's not a movie I'd see again.
Alex?
I don't think it quite met my expectations of how I think you can pretty easily just have a movie that's pretty good, even with the little kid humor. Just something that would, and well, Keiko watched it with her kids, so maybe they laughed more than I thought they would have. But I thought it was a strangely executed as well concept, but probably won't see it again. But it was curious. It was kind of as a curiosity. It was worth seeing first time.
I'll go next so Keiko can kind of take us home on her own episode. But I mean, I'm going to settle between you two. Like, it was strange, but I mean, there's definitely been worse kids' movies I've seen. Frankly, what surprised me is how thin it all was. It's got a very complicated story. The fact that it barely scrapes by at like 80 minutes, like with credits, weird to me. Like, you'd think there'd be more here, but like, again, I have it playing in the background, as Keiko said. The guy steps into the whatever, the raccoon trap, the little garage, at 79 minutes. And then we just cut to credits. Like, it's such a strange world that it either should be much shorter or much longer. And I mean, I don't know if I'd want a 90-minute version of this, but at least it might explain something. So I don't know. It's a lot. So Keiko, what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, so this was bad, and that's okay. It was not as good rewatching it as an adult as I remember as a kid. But I did show it to my kids. They thought it was hilarious at points. Like, my 5-year-old was dying about the horse poop scene. Like, that just blew his little mind. He thought that was so funny. So my kids liked it. So maybe, when they grow up, they will remember it as a fever dream and show it to their kids. And it won't be that great, but maybe it'll do the same thing for them. So that's all. Watch it if you have kids. Otherwise, don't.
Yeah, and again, like, I appreciate you letting us kick you around. This is much more in the old style of the show where it was like, let's watch something we watched as kids and have fun with it. But like, there's plenty of bad movies like this. It's funny that, again, I think for you, like you said, that you remembered this one. I bet you, like, if I went through the back catalog, there'd be one that would hit me like a baseball to the forehead, and I'd be like, holy shit, we've got to rewatch it, and it would just be like, and so like the fact that you remember this and pulled it forward. By the way, message us, go onto the Facebook group or whatever, and tell us if you tuned in specifically because we're talking about trading moms. I would love to hear from you. If like you've missed the previous 490, 500 episodes, wherever we are in this, and this is the one. This is the one that got you out of the woodwork to be like, that Myopia Movies sure sounds pretty sharp.
There's probably some niche people who are maybe they're from Alabama like me, maybe.
Yeah, and again, if you don't remember where you came from, it's entirely possible that it was just on some local broadcast and you caught it, right? I have no idea because again, I've seen movies like this, Disney Channel originals, ABC Afternoon, and so who knows? Who knows? Anyway, so thanks for listening. Next month is all Disney classics. We've done this before. We'll do it again. We picked one live action movie, which is the first one in December here, which is going to be The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. But then after that, we're going to Disney's Golden Age of Animation, or Second Golden Age, whatever they call it. But we're going to do I'm going to try to get the order right. But we're going to do Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, and Aladdin. So enjoy some mainstream big old movies that all of us have heard of and that Keiko didn't just imagine in a fever dream. Thanks, everybody.
This movie is real.
It's real. But yeah, thanks. Bye. Myopia Movies is a podcast production of Dude Letter Podcasting and is produced by Nick Hoffman. It is edited by Merritt and Daniel Sudis and is hosted by Nick Hoffman, with production assistance by Matthew Quinn, Daniel Sudis, and Merritt. The theme song is Surf Shimmy by Kevin MacLeod from Incomptech.com. Licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution for License, Creative Commons /licenses by /4.0. Thanks.